Hello, everybody, and welcome to Triple Clowns. And today we're going to be going over a really, really fun thing and also a very important thing for all the handicappers out there. And we're going to go over angles. Angles that handicappers use. I got some great angles from some great handicappers out there, and I am interested in talking about these. And I am alongside the beautiful Sarah Marie, and rounding out the Triple Clowns today is Big Gary, back by popular demand. AJ Ryder, technical difficulties, can't be aboard today. He is okay. He'll be back really soon, and we're going to do something with him about these and get his reactions. I think it'll be funny. But today we are doing handicapping angles and what the pros use and what the people use and what the normal ones are and the somewhat abnormal. So this is our handicapping angles. First off, let me introduce to you my co-host, always the beautiful Sarah Marie, and we are joined by Big Gary.
Big Gary, yeah.
Say hello, Sarah Marie, and say hello, Big Gary, and we'll get right on to it.
Hey, guys.
Hello, everyone.
All right. So I mostly want to hear the reactions of Big Gary on this, and Sarah's learning as she goes along, and we're going to go through them right away. The normal, what everybody knows about angles, if they know anything, are about 10, and I have them down. I read them, the top 10, and the first one we're going to go over is speed figures. Everybody goes over speed figures. It's the highest speed figure. You see it. It's the dark lettering on the program. Speed figures, if you just went by those, I think they're available from Equibase, Timeform, Bayer, Brisnet, Trackmaster. I think they all do their own. I don't know which one is the best. We'll actually get into that with somebody else's angles pretty soon, but speed figures is number one on the list, I think, that people go by, and that's an angle. Second, I would say, is the jockey trainer change. My father and I talk about this a lot, Big Gary and myself. We talk about this a lot when somebody chooses to jump off a horse and go on to another horse. You think that jockey might know more than you. I'm not sure, though.
That's one you always have pointed out to me to look for, too.
Yeah. We'll go over that a little more. Yeah, I'm sure in a second when we go over all these. The next one is the trainer. People go just by the trainer, and they bet the hot trainer. That's normal. Dropping from maiden special weight to maiden claiming, another one, where is a big one for most people. Surface changes. Turf to dirt, dirt to turf. That's a big one always. When a horse doesn't run well on dirt, they think they might go better on turf. Another angle for everybody to look at. Horses for courses, which would be certain horses run better at certain tracks, and people know that. One that I know Big Gary loves, and it's first time gelding. That's a great one, and I don't know if anybody out there doesn't know what that means, but if the horses are listening, plug your ears, because that means your nuts got chopped off and now you're running. So first time gelding. Another one is lone speed, which means that you're the only speed in the race and you might just steal it. And the last one I'll talk about is second or third race off the layoff. Before we get into everybody else, is the experts angles, which is very interesting because there's a way more intricate than these are. Let's talk about those real quick, Big Gary. Anything on that list that you use or you think is interesting on that list?
Well, when you talk maiden special weight to maiden claiming, that's a powerful punch, and it's probably more meaningful when you see that a horse has a lot of early speed, or he can stay within 2 or 3 lengths of a leader. And this talks about when they're they're dropping class too. If they can stay within 2 or 3 lengths in the first 2 calls of a race with better company, and then all of a sudden they're dropped, there's a good chance they're going to come out and run a real big race, and a lot of times they'll win. So they got to show a little speed anyway. Like I say, if they can stay within 2 or 3 lengths and then they drop in class, then they're usually a pretty good bet.
Okay, so adding on to that, so everybody out there listening, write it down. These are pretty important things, I think, that everybody's talking about, and you're going to get even more notes later on. So dropping from maiden special weight to maiden claiming, you're saying make sure that horse at least was within a few lengths when you do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, if they're in maiden special weight, they're a unique breed, and a trainer's not going to give up on them right away. But if they see that, they want them to win a race, or they might want to get rid of them because of such a poor performance. That could be something you need to take a look at too. But it's more of a valuable bet when you see that he was somewhat competitive and he was able to run, like I say, the first quarter, the first half mile within a few lengths of the leader, and that makes the drop even better.
Okay, great. I hope everybody could hear him there. He cut out a little bit, but I think that was fine. Apologize for that. Okay, so anything else on there? Like I said, I know you like the first time gelding thing, and I have a philosophy on that. So what do you think about the first time gelding thing? Why is that? I mean, I think we know the natural thing, but maybe you can explain that.
I'm not sure. I know it's always been as a matter of fact, they never even talked about that till probably a couple of years ago. And you never heard about first time gelding as being an issue, but for some reason, all of a sudden it became a big factor in handicapping.
All right. My philosophy is this. They bring the person who actually chopped their balls off and they stand them at the starting gate. So they run really fast away from them. So that's my philosophy. So just telling you, I think that's what happens.
I think that'd be some good motivation.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they do.
I thought the trainer might tell the horse, he says, you either win this race or we're going to cut something else off.
Yeah, well, where do you go from there? So I don't know. Okay, speed figures. How do you feel about that?
Well, there's so many speed figures. I mean, I don't pay as much attention to speed figures as I should. I mean, I just see what the trend is. But I think if you play speed figures, you got to stick with one particular speed figure. You can't be jumping around, going from Equibase to one of the other ones, and I mean, you can overdo things and overanalyze a race if you spend too much time trying to decipher it and start using too much information. So I think if you use one set of speed figures, a horse, let's say, he keeps improving, he's won 2 races, or he's running 2 races in a row where his speed figures are getting better, well, he probably is going to peak at the next time up.
All right.
But if a horse that's gradually declining in speed figures, then he might not be such a good bet.
Any other ones on that list that you'd like to talk about or that you use?
Well, I know the lone speed is key. I mean, it's always nice to get awfully brave, certain horses, when they get off the lead by themselves. So it's good to handicap a race and see if there's going to be lone speed, because sometimes there's 2 or 3 horses that want to get the lead, and they get awfully brave when they can just run by themselves. So lone speed's real key. One of the other things I'd like to mention is the cutback. When a horse is simply put on he's been running 6 furlongs, not being able to maintain. And what happens is they'll put him in a longer race just to build up his stamina. So it's possibly is being used for just like a workout to build up his stamina. So then when he goes back to 6 furlongs, a sprint race, he's got much more in the tank at the end. So a lot of times they'll use that, and I think that's a good angle. So if you see a horse running a couple sprints, not so good, and you see him stretched out, and like I said, it's just to build his stamina. That's all the purpose is. He comes back to running that sprint, and he runs a real big race. So that's a good angle to use, I think.
All right, fantastic. And for everybody, those are the basics of the angles that we're going at. So everybody out there, that was your elementary education on the angles, because I've got some other ones that I'd like to hear your take on, Big Gary. And I'm sure, I mean, a lot of these are like years of research or something, because they're insane that people must be watching this all the time and studying this. But I think it's a good angles for people that are out there listening, that they're going to be good. And I'm curious to see your take on these. And also, before I get on to that, Sarah, anything you learned on that?
I feel like I learned quite a bit. The only thing well, like I said, you've always taught me about the jockey changes. Always kind of look out for that. And the first time geldings, yeah, that one you've always kind of talked to me about as well. As the other ones were very interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that more, and you know, the next time I get a program, really kind of study it a little bit more than what I do.
Well, that's exactly why we're doing this, and people out there can read a program if they are first timers, or even the old timers that don't remember this or don't do it anymore. That's what people are doing. It's not bad angles. They're angles. I mean, that's all we can hope for in horse racing. So the trainer jump is a weird one, because like my father and I have talked about before, is you don't know if it's an agent thing though a lot, or when you really look into it. But when you do look at it and you see a jockey that's a big time jockey jump off a 2-to-1 shot to a 6-to-1 shot, and you kind of figure he might have, you got to kind of play the game of his relationship with the trainer and owner or something to see if that's a honest jump or just a political jump or a money move or something like that. Don't you agree?
There's some things behind the scenes that you got to pay attention to, or you don't really know, because some of these jockeys might be under contract to ride a certain horse. So here we are thinking that he left his usual mount to ride this other horse. So we automatically assume that the horse he's going to is more apt to win or more primed to win, but that might not necessarily be the case, because he might have some contract with the jockey or the agent and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, we actually ran into that personally and we know for a fact, we were told with one of our horses, Lane Way, who was Flavion on there, right? Big Gary? Flavion Pratt was on there?
Yes, he was.
And he jumped off to go on a horse, and he said just because he didn't know, he already agreed to go on a horse's maiden, and our horse actually beat that horse that he was on. So it wasn't a move of, I don't think he thought the horse was better. It was just, I already was obligated to this horse earlier. So if you looked at it that way, you would have bet that horse that our horse actually beat. I mean, he came in third, but he still ran bigger than him. Not that he might not have thought the horse was going to beat him, but it did seem like they told us that he jumped off because he was promised the race before that, and he already was obligated to a certain horse at that distance.
Yeah.
So there is political things going on, and relationships with owners. So on from that, let's go right to our comments from professional handicappers and their angles. And I'm going to tell you who they are and their angles, which are very specific. So like I said, grab a pad and pen, because they are very interesting, and I think people should watch these. The first one I'm going to give you is from our old friend, Ed DeRosa, who was on the show before. Ed, what's up, buddy? From Brisnet. He's the man, does his thing, has his podcast, has his picks. He's amazing. Check him out. He is at EJXDT on
D2.
Twitter. D2. DT. I don't know why I said that. That's at EJXD2 on Twitter. Great guy. His angle is this. Todd Pletcher's first time turf, who had to work two back on turf, then a dirt work before the race. So for anybody following along, that's Todd Pletcher. Turf work, dirt work, first ever race on turf. That's an angle that he must have studied for a while.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of insight we're giving you at Triple Clowns, apparently, because that's an angle that I would obviously never thought of. That's a research angle. Big Gary, what do you think about that angle?
Yeah, it's certainly new to me because, you know, if you see that most of these horses work, you don't see too many horses work on turf. That's the thing. So if you see something like that, it's obviously should now make the light bulb go on, and certainly something to take a look at.
Yeah. So thank you, Ed. That's fantastic. Research on that one. Now I'm going to say the next one, Big Gary, and for everybody out there, I'm going to give you're going to have to guess who said this one. All right. I think you know this person. Well, actually, I know you know this person. But I'm going to say it. And there's one word in here that's going to be a key word. And this is mostly between you and I here and all the listeners out there. You might just have a chuckle about it. But this is between you and I here, so I'll make it quick. There's a key word in here. And this person said this. They like Jonathan Shepard when he has a horse who ran a decent race or two, then went first-time Lasix on the turf. First, I'm going to ask you who said that.
Jonathan Shepard. If I remember right, Jonathan Shepard runs steeplechase. I have no idea.
Okay, this game has lasted too long. This might have to be edited out a little bit, but that is your nephew. Ron Topor gave me that one. So that is Ron Topor's angle, and that's at Topster, and he spells it different. Toupester. That was Ron Topor's angle. And obviously, since you think Jonathan Shepard is a steeple horse guy, I don't know what to say about that one. We're going to go right to our next one. And this one is from the Attack Angles. And who's better than that than the Attack Angles? These guys are great. They do give all sorts of picks all the time. I follow them. You should too. Their Twitter is at Attack Angles. And it's just, I'm not going to spell it because you should know how to spell that, even though I thought it was Attack Angels for the longest time.
So did I.
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe they've heard that before.
Yeah.
But I just thought they were very satanic. But it's Attack Angles. Great people. They do great picks. And this is their angle. When a horse is claimed from a 0% barn, almost any trainer can approve the horse. What do you think about that, Big Gary?
I'm trying to let it soak in.
I mean, it makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense.
When a horse is claimed off of a really bad barn, then bet them because they're going to definitely do better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that was at Attack Angles. They do give great picks every day, which most of the people that I'm going to talk to you about do. And my next one is from Nick Maronde, who was on our show, ex-California Angels baseball player. Nick said he just uses the race history and speed figures off of just Equibase. So I think we hit on that before, Big Gary, where you said if you're going to go off speed figures, use one thing.
Right.
and he goes off Equibase. Maybe him and Ed should talk because I'm sure Ed wants them to go off the Brisnet ones. So we
Right.
should hook them up and they should talk. Now the next one I have is from Don Stevens. You know who that is, Big Gary. That's the track announcer from Delta Downs. He's a racing analyst as well. And his thing is he likes a lot of the second time angles. Second time blinkers, second time Lasix, and the second time at a new track. And of course, he likes especially at Delta Downs. And when a horse is not used to running on a small track or hasn't run under the lights at night, then comes to Delta Downs, they often improve the second time they race. He also likes cutting back in distance while at the same time dropping in class. I think you mentioned that before. That's always a good one. Especially if that horse hasn't been losing badly lately. And he likes the fact that you can find some juicy long shots with that. Now, you kind of mentioned that, right? Didn't you, with the cutting back in distance while dropping in class?
Right.
And there's an angle at Delta Downs that the announcer from Delta Downs just gave everybody. So if you're betting Delta Downs, keep an eye out for that one. I think that's a really insider angle there.
Yeah.
Anything to say about that one, Big Gary?
No.
All
Not
right.
too much.
All right. Now, this one is from.
You can find Don Stevens on Twitter at Horseman Don.
Sorry about that, Don. I totally didn't give everybody your Twitter. Yes, you can find him at Horseman Don. And once again, I think you guys can get that. That's Horseman Don. All one word, by the way, because I think that's how Twitter works.
That's how Twitter works.
So at Horseman Don, great guy, coming in. Listen to Delta Downs. You'll hear his voice if you want. And that's his angle. Another one we have is from Ryan Dickey, R Dickey 249. That's R Dickey 249. Dickey is spelt with an E, so it's RDICKEY 249. And he is also a producer at Horse Racing Nation, which is one thing that we go on a lot, where you get your news from. So shout out to Horse Racing Nation. And Horse Racing Nation is at HR_nation. And he says, hate is a strong word, but he does say hate a lot. But I hate betting horses that everyone knows will be in their final career race. This is a different one for me, that we're talking about angles of winning. He's going to go into angles of losing. So he doesn't like horses that are in their final career race. And because the horses have no idea they will be retiring, but the trainers do. And they do everything in their power to deliver a sound, happy horse after the race. They may cut corners in their training regimen for their final race. I've been burned many times betting a horse that was the best on paper, but put forth a dull effort on their way to the breeding shed or sales ring. And this includes the Breeders' Cup races. He says, the only question I would have for Ryan is, what if they're gelded? That's the only thing I would say to that. But I did look this up, and he's got a point. A lot of horses on their last race, it does make sense.
It does make a lot of sense, because you would think that the training wouldn't be as strong knowing that's just the last race.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Big Gary, about that?
Not sure.
Okay.
I don't really have an opinion on it, really.
Okay. So I think that's interesting. I looked up some, and obviously the big names, a lot of them ran obviously big races, but I think I'm pretty sure Ryan's going at it with horses that aren't that big. Obviously, like Zenyatta's last race, I think Seabiscuit obviously won his last race. If AJ was here, he'd talk about that. That was the San Antonio Derby, I think. I know I did look up Secretary's last race. He just blew everybody out. I think it was at Remington. And it was just, I don't know if they just gave him that one, but it was another Belmont type finish. But that's another angle. So if everybody's looking at it, if you know a horse is retiring, that's another one.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go on to some comments that we got from Reddit.
Yes.
Which is, these are pretty great comments as well. And this is from Let the Bull Roll. I like these names, Let the Bull Roll. And he writes for thoroughcap.com. So check that out, everybody, thoroughcap.com. And it focuses on something called hot angles, which is odd. I don't know if they're related, but they're obviously on the same page with the angles thing. And his favorite is surface switchers that are getting back from turf to dirt. And if they've ran superior figures on grass, a lot of times there'll be an instance of a trainer change or a race getting reined off. Or from the pedigree side, he talks about a horse that ran today at Gulfstream Park called Bear Alley, and that's today being Thursday. So if anybody's listening later on.
He ran second.
Yes, he ran a good second, a great second, I guess. Somebody wrote, you ran huge second. That was his angle on a horse, and I got to give it to him. And let me give it to Let the Bull Roll, because he actually had this angle in a race before he said it, and had the non-gelding way of putting it out there. And yeah, he put his angle on that horse. Bear Alley he was half to multiple graded turf winners. Mark, I don't know how to say that. And Arklow, and should love the turf from the dirt, and ran a good second. So good for you. Let the Bull Roll. Hope you get the exacta. I don't know what it paid. But Gary, do you know what that paid?
No, but I believe the horse that won paid a real good price. So I'm sure the exacta was huge.
Exactly. So, hey, if you wheeled them in the exactas, thank you. Let the Bull Roll. Wish we could have got that out quicker or told people about it. Hope you hit it. And thank you for that. And the next one is from the Nap. I guess I'll say this. That's OHTHNAP. And that's Sarah's actually name, the Nap. She likes those. And his angle was last race at Fauner Park. Last race at Fauner Park yesterday had a class dropper from an allowance of 5K claimer, first-time claimer, ran improvingly at higher class and blew past the field in the stretch at 62-1. This isn't really an angle so much as you have to wait for the right opportunity and then really hammer it. What do you think about that? I mean, that's an angle.
Yeah.
That's a class dropper angle, and good for him. I hope he hit it 62-1. And we talked about that. So that's an angle, and shout out to the Napper. That's what I'm going to call him.
That track, by the way, is in Nebraska.
All right. Fauner Park in Nebraska. The next one is from the Superfan, 2010. He likes change of pace from running in the back of the field in the last few races to showing and holding early speed until the stretch. Is that flash and fade? Is what he's talking about?
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, I would say it is.
Have only noticed it working on dirt. Also, a horse returning to dirt after several good showings on the turf. And he references Catholic Boy. We like him. I'm a big fan of Catholic Boy. In the 2018 Travers. Anything on that, Big Gary?
No, that makes sense. I mean, Catholic Boy was a good horse. I mean, his last couple of races weren't all that spectacular, but overall, I mean, he was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and he came from the turf to the Travers.
Yeah.
And won. So there you go. That's another turf to dirt. We're getting a lot of turf to dirts, dirt to turfs, I feel. The next one is from how do you say that? Pirati? Pirati?
Pirate fish.
Pirate fish, but not spelled like pirates. P-Y-R-A-T-E, fish. And his favorite angle is turf milers cutting back in distance, going down the hill at Santa Anita. Now, I told him that they don't go down the hill at Santa Anita anymore. And hopefully they are going to, because what I heard they are. And I also said I want Talamo on him down the hill. But he likes them. So when it does go back to down the hill at Santa Anita, which I hope hopefully it does, he likes them cutting back from the turf milers going down the hill. That's a weird one I've never thought of, but maybe that's an angle that's worked before. Have you ever seen that one before, Big Gary?
No, can't say that I have.
All right, so write it down. Write all these down. If you see a turf miler going down the hill, use it as an angle. Thank you, Pirate Fish. And last but not least, we have Brian Fucci. I was going to say Fucky, but it's okay. Brian _ Fucci, which makes sense. And it's Brian _ Fucci. And he likes another second time guy.
Yeah.
Where he likes second time starters, blinkers off a speed horse, blinkers off a speed horse. I want to specify turf to dirt again and first time route. In the harness game, which is, well, we're going a whole nother angle. We're going harness racing.
Yeah.
He likes AJ Rider aboard. Oh, wait, no, he didn't say that. In the harness game, he likes to play all horses with a first time barn change. And that is far by the most successful of all horse angles. Brian going all out and saying the most is in the harness game, everybody. Write it down. That a barn change, first time barn change, is by far the most successful of all horse angles. And he obviously still likes the second time starters, blinkers off a speed horse. That's interesting. And turf the dirt on a first time route. So he gave us like 4 in there. Thank you, Brian. That was great. What do you think about that? There's a lot to chew on right there from Brian.
That is.
So all interesting angles there. And that's what we have right now. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. And last but not least, I want to go into the crazy angles that we've heard about. I mentioned one to Ed DeRosa today, and he made a funny comment back. But I'm going to ask you first, Big Gary, any crazy angles that you've heard or you play, possibly? Because there's a couple on here that aren't in there that are, I mean, if these people didn't say it, maybe it's
one that I find probably my best angle. And as a matter of fact, I'll give you an example. I call it a smart money angle. If you take, for example, the first race at Gulfstream today, and this is what a lot of people don't realize, at 75 minutes to post, they started showing the win pools. And $7,000 was bet up front. And right away, it was like a 12-horse field at Gulfstream. And the first money flash showed that they were playing the 2, 3, 9, and 10. So there's only $7,000 in the pool, 75 minutes to post in the win pool. Over the next half hour, there was $4,000 additional dollars. The next 15 minutes, there was $4 more put in the win pool. And then with 15 minutes to post, there was like $8,000 more put in. But the last 15 minutes, $97,000 was put in the win pool. So that's all the OTB money filtering in. Okay, so here's what my point is. When you see the money early, the first time they change the odds, that's coming right from the stable.
Barn money.
Whether it be the trainer, the owners, whatever. That's the house money right there. That's coming right from the stable itself. And I mentioned that in this case here, 2, 3, 9, 10, the superfecta of the first race at Gulfstream today was 3, 2, 9, 10 in that order. One of those horses was 10-1 morning line too. So it wasn't like it was the 4 favorites in the race. But that just shows you what happens. And here's what I think really happens. The first flash, like if you go to a subsequent race, you might be looking at 25 minutes is the first time you get a flash of the odds. And that first flash you see is going to be the track money that's coming in from the stable. And if you see a horse that's like 8-1 morning line and he opens up at like 6-5, that's coming from that stable. And what's going to happen is people are going to see that and they're going to shy away from it because they say, I'm not going to bet him. He's not worth anything. He's 6-5 now. He's not anywhere close to his morning line. But by post time, that horse might be 10-1. I've seen that happen where the horse actually goes up and becomes an overlay and then runs a bang up race. So I like to look at the smart money. I think it's real key. And I think, you know, they try to hide it. They don't want to show everybody their hand. So, you know, I mean, they're not going to wait till the last minute to bet and run the chance of getting shut out too. So I think that's a good angle to play. I think it's smart money. You can look at it all the time. Every race, I think it's worth looking at the odds, the first flash of the odds board. Because you got to understand one thing is the odds board won't change that much in the early stages of betting when there's not much money in the pool. But I mean, if it happens at the end, it's going to be due to that big influx of the OTB money coming in. Okay, and sometimes it'll make it jump quite a bit because, like I said, you got $97,000 in the last 15 minutes that I showed up in the win pool at Gulfstream. So that's I think is a good angle to use, and that's certainly one that I like to take a look at because it shows a lot. I think right up front, first like when it's 20 minutes to post, you will know where the smart money is coming from.
Well, it's funny you say that because we've talked about this before, but I'll say it on air. When I used to live near Gulfstream when I was in Hollywood, Florida, and I used to go down there, I don't even know it's so much even strategic. It makes sense strategically, but like we've talked about before, but I'll say it aloud to everybody out there. It's a lot of people in the barns that are given the money. They have to go right away or before the race because they have things to do. So even if it is, and I'm sure it is a part of a strategy, they honestly can only bet right before the race because they have to go back and take care of those horses that they're betting on, like right away. I saw it firsthand of the people in the barns walking a horse out, then running to the window, then running back to the horse. And I'd like to talk to some workers sometime about that and about whether.
And if you ever see anyone dressed up in a tuxedo, you know that he wants his picture taken in the winner's circle, so that's a good angle too.
Yeah, I know. I brought that. That's the one I brought up to Ed, which is a very funny angle, I think, which you always specified to me, and I did bring that up to Ed, and he made a comment about that, and I'll bring that up in a second. And that is the angle of, and that's another crazy angle. Look who's dressed really well, and if they own a horse, yes, they might be ready to get their picture taken because they know their horse is going to win. Another crazy angle, and Ed wrote back to me and told me that you just have to know what the guy usually dresses like, because if he's always dressed nice, then you're in trouble, basically. So thank you, Ed, for that. And yeah, that's another funny one. A couple other ones. What do you think about like the nibbling on the lead horse? Overly nibbling on the lead horse. Is he ready to go? I've heard that before.
I've never heard of that, and I don't even want to get involved in that.
Well, that's another crazy one, and that's why we're bringing them up. I've even heard from people if the horse goes to the bathroom before the race.
Yeah.
Because it probably isn't good if you have to go to the bathroom during the race. So that's another one I've heard.
I've heard of the tail swishing if they swish north to south, the tail swishing, they want to run. If
Okay, there you
Yeah.
go. It's another crazy
That
one.
isn't
they east to west, they want no part of running. That's what I heard.
Well, I mean,
Wow.
isn't it like a dog when it like wags its tail? Wait, no, a dog
What?
wags its tail like east to west, and he's happy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I don't even know what to say about that one.
That's interesting. But I feel like there's always some kind of directional thing when it comes to a lot of different things of theories where I mean I even heard stuff like that when it came to fishing. If the wind's from the west, the fish bite the best.
Oh.
You know,
I thought
things
you
like
meant.
that.
I thought she was talking about if the fish is wagging its tail north to south,
Yes.
that would be weird. Well, unless you're a dolphin. Well, it's not a fish, is it? No.
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 Okay, never mind then. But if a fish was going up and down, then they probably have something wrong with it. And
Yeah, you probably don't want that fish.
no, I shouldn't eat that fish.
No.
I got one other angle I want to bring up, and then you can throw the others at you, okay? It's a daily double angle. In other words, what you do is you look for the daily double payoffs, okay? And in a lot of tracks, you got a daily double every other race. So what you do is you look at the projected payoffs and divide that payoff by the morning line. And let's just say, for example, you notice that the one horse is going to pay $28 and he's 2-1. And the 6 horse is 8-1 morning line and his double is going to pay the same. So what does that tell you? It tells you that basically that 6 horse is probably live because his daily double is paying what the 2-1 shots double is going to pay. So sometimes you can get a read on where the smart money, and again, I call it smart money, is going in these exotic pools, such as the daily double.
Okay, so let's say this again real quick for everybody out there. So you're basically saying where it's almost like people are burying their money. They don't want to show it in the first race. They're just going to hit the double because they know that's going to be worth more. So you can kind of see where that action is going.
Right.
I mean, we've all had to pick 3 that shouldn't pay as little as it does because you know somebody in one of those 3 races knew something and didn't lower the win odds. Correct?
That's correct.
All right, so keep an eye on that. That makes sense. And the mathematical equation on that. And mind you, everybody out there listening, my father is like a mathematician, and he does this all the time and figures out these, what would they be called?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're going to divide by the morning line, it's easy when if they come out strictly they're 4-1 or 5-1. But if it's 9-2, then you divide by 4.5. If it's 8-5, you divide by 1.6. So all you got to do is convert your fractions to decimals and divide.
Oh, yeah, that sounds crazy easy. Good thing AJ's not on here because his brain would explode.
Yeah,
right
mine's
now.
about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically, if you see a morning line of 3-2, that's 1.5. So whatever that payoff would be, you would divide it by 1.5. So I mean, so just divide by the decimal equivalent, okay, and then you get what the amount would be. And like I say, you can see sometimes where this horse is 10-1, this horse is 3-1. Why is the daily double so close, the payoff so close, where there should be quite a bit of difference between the two? So that can help you in your handicapping.
Yeah, and everybody knows how to just break down those odds like that because most
Just figure it out one time and you got that. All you have to do is keep a piece of paper with the equivalents on it and then you're all set.
Yeah, there you go. Just create a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Fantastic. I'm trying to figure that out in my head. But you heard him, and it does make sense. And basically, in layman's terms, it's basically take the if it's a 10-1 shot, and a 3-1 shot that are paying $30 for a double, and a 5-1 shot and a 2-1 shot paying, 35. That 10-1 shot might win the race. You don't have to play the double.
Well, he's certainly well meant. You're right.
Yeah, you don't even have to play the double, for everybody out there, but you might want to play that 10-1 shot because it seems like somebody out there bet a lot on him to win. Well, they didn't bet a lot on him to win. They bet a lot on the double.
Could be the first leg. You could be the first leg of your pick 3, your first leg of your double too.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it gives you the horse in the race that's hot. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
It don't allow you to pick out. It don't allow you to pick out a pick 3 and a pick 4 because you can't look ahead. That's the only problem.
Yeah. I wonder why they can't do that. It's weird they don't have will pays on pick 3s now that I think about it. I mean, I guess that'd be too much math for everybody.
Except for Big Gary.
Yeah.
Big Gary would figure that one out.
Yeah, that's true. He could do the will pays.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's about it. Any angles you want to talk about besides that, Big Gary?
No, I think that's it.
Sarah, how about you? Any angles you use?
Well, mine are pretty good. When I first started with betting horses, I would go off of which name made me laugh.
That's always a good angle.
Yeah. Didn't work out a lot of the time, but you know, it was fun.
Good thing Hoof-Hearted wasn't running.
I know.
You mentioned him a lot.
I would have been broke if he was running because I just would bet him every single time. No, I think these are really good. I guess just take it from someone like me when I first looked at a program, I was just like, oh my God, there's all these numbers, there's these names, there's these notes, there's this, you got to pay attention to this. And it's a lot. So for those beginners out there, just kind of take it in chunks. And, Randy was really great at kind of breaking it down. And it's still like today, when I look at a program, it's still a little bit overwhelming of all the data they give you. And really kind of what I look at would be the length of the race, the purse, and then I look at the breakdowns of all their past races and see if they've run that length before. If they have, how did they do and how many times have they run that length?
Okay, so wait. So your angle is reading the program.
Yeah,
okay.
That's my angle.
Great angle. Great.
Because other than that, I have no idea what I'm
now
doing.
You do, and most people don't. And now you have a bunch of angles.
I kind of want to try this daily double payoff your dad was talking about, but I need to learn math first.
Yeah, I think you got to pick out something that works for you. I mean, you can try lots of things, and it's a lot of experimentation, but you got to try what things work for you. I mean, obviously, there's just so many things out there, and you can overanalyze a race. That's for darn sure.
Oh, yeah, real quick.
I remember, and when I look at a program, if I look at it the second time, I see something different. I look at it a third time, and my mind just keeps changing. So, I think pick out something that works for you, stick to it, and sometimes you just got to nibble and try to win a little at a time. So it's like anybody else, you try to be too greedy.
Well, and I feel like if you played all these angles, you'd be betting 7 horses in a race. I almost feel like all the angles we gave today, there'd probably be like 5 horses in each race with one of those angles. So it is like you have to pick your favorite angle and go with it.
Yeah.
I think we had some really great angles today. I do think what we learned was the turf to dirt thing, surprisingly, was the biggest angle we got.
Yeah.
Which, hey, everybody out there, maybe that's the one. Everything's an algorithm. Maybe we figure out 1,000 angles, and the one that comes up the most is the one that's, wins the most. But anyway, let's get on with this because we've talked a lot of angles. So for me, G. Randall Johnson, thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Tell us your angle if you listen this far. And I'll say it in the beginning as well, because you probably haven't listened this far. But if you have, thank you. And for me, G. Randall Johnson, I am out. Say bye, guys. We're gone.
So long.
Bye.
All right, we want to give a special thanks today for our guest, Ed DeRosa and Big Gary, for coming on today. Triple Clowns is a production of the team at Big Umbrella. Rate and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts. Send us your questions at tripleclowns@gmail.com, and you may be featured on a future episode. Follow us on social media at ClownsTriple on Twitter and Instagram, and follow me, AJ Ryder, at Troy McClain WWE on Twitter. Like and subscribe to our show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. All right, guys, for AJ Ryder, I'm out of here. See you later, everybody.